All right, welcome back to computer science. Yesterday we were doing counting, right? Counting stuff. So that is like basically incrementing the loop variable or decrementing or using a different operator on the loop variable, but basically changing the loop variable each iteration. The loop variable, this is the variable that kind of determines when the loop ends. It's the variable that's being checked within the condition. There's a loop expression, maybe that's a better way to describe it, and it's typically iterated if it's a correct loop each iteration. Loop variable can be used for counting and is updated typically each iteration is good. Okay, yeah, I got everything. I'm going to jump back into learning more, and then I'm going to be back to recall what I learned a little bit. Okay, so we finished up the unit on counting, so good there. Then we started the next unit, which is on lists, so beginning to understand lists. So before we talk about lists, we talk about a container. A list is a container. A container is a data structure used to store related values that also, it doesn't actually store the objects themselves. It stores a reference to the objects themselves. That's what the container does. And a list is a container, which can be essentially created using brackets around variables or literals. An index is the location. It's an integer that denotes the location of an element within the list. An element is one of the objects or items within the list, and index expression can be used to call a specific element, and that is basically list name, and then within brackets with no space, the index integer. So lists are mutable, lists are objects, lists contain objects, and again, the value when the object, the value that the object contains is a sequence of references to the elements. Containers data structure uses a group of related values together and contains references to other objects instead of data. Okay, instead of data. But isn't that a form of data? Instead of the objects themselves, I feel like is a better term, but list, a container that contains sequence of variables and or literals created using brackets, element, a list item. Lists are mutable, lists are objects, and a list value is a sequence of references to the list's elements. Each element itself is an object. Index and elements, an integer that specifies an element's position in the list, indexing expression. My list, I. Okay, that's everything for now. I'll be back later to continue learning more about lists. I'll talk to you then. Welcome back to computer science. Earlier we were starting to look at lists. We're going to continue working with lists now and go from there. So I'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, welcome. Okay, we just did a lot of more list stuff, and there was a lot of terms, a lot of ideas in there. So you can change lists because they are mutable. We can use we can use methods, we'll call them. Methods are a way to, in this case, change lists or update lists. So to access a method, we use dot notation. So we say the list name dot or period, and then the function or the method name, and then different essentially parameters or arguments within the parentheses. So the sequence method append will add on an element to the end of a list. The method pop will remove a specific element given at the index you state, and remove will remove a given item based on, it will remove the first item that matches the value that you specify. So those are the big methods we learned for lists. There's some concept between sequence functions and sequence methods. I don't know if one fits in the other or if they're completely distinct. It seems like one of them might be broader. Methods might be the broad term, functions are within it. Maybe, maybe not. But it seems like methods will change the actual list itself, the original list, whereas the functions will operate on the list, but still the original list will remain, but you'll get a new value. And some of these functions include, you don't need to use dot notation for functions, but these include concatenating lists, maximum, minimum, sum if it's numbers, list. See, there's a lot. This one might be a method then because it's dot notation. List dot. Oh, len. Did I say len? Length. List dot. What would the list dot ones be? I'm not exactly sure. I think that's most of everything though. So append is a list method, right? Where do we actually start? Adding, removing list elements. So method instructs an object to perform some action. Is list an object? Maybe. I think it is. Specify by providing the object name followed by a period and then the method name. Good. Append. List method adds new element to the end of a list. Good. Pop / remove. List methods remove elements from a list. Index for pop, value for remove. Sequence type methods. So both of these are built into Python, the methods and the functions for sequence types. Sequence types are like lists, for example, strings maybe? Yeah, but I don't know if you can use the functions on the strings or the append because they're immutable. But yeah. List.index, list.count. What does list.index, what does list.count do? List.index will give you the first element within the list. List.count will tell you how you say list.count and then you specify a value and then it will return how many of that exact value are within the list. So that's it for today, probably. Tomorrow's the last day of the week of week 6, crazy enough. We've got an hour more to do, so maybe I'll come back later today and do some of that. So I have less than an hour tomorrow so I can, relax a little bit, watch a football game. But we'll see how it turns out. So maybe I'll see you later.